EdYoda, the end of your job search and the beginning of your dream career. EdYoda's live sessions are taught by industry experts, giving you hands-on experience and practical knowledge with real projects, not just degrees. EdYoda's industry-recognized certifications will help you stand out in the job market. And that's not all. With EdYoda's exclusive job board featuring 500+ companies, finding your dream job has never been easier. Say goodbye to endless job searching and hello to your dream career with EdYoda. Join EdYoda's student community today and start building your dream career.
Okay. Hello everyone. Welcome to this Photoshop workshop. My name is Shubham Raut and I am thrilled to be your instructor for this session. Today, we'll be diving into the world of Photoshop, one of the most powerful and widely used photo editing software in the world. Photoshop has been an industry standard for many years, and its capabilities are vast and limitless. Whether you are a graphic designer or a photographer or just someone who loves playing around with images, this workshop will provide you with essential tips and tricks to help you improve your Photoshop skills. In this live session, we'll be covering some fundamental tools and techniques used in Photoshop, including how to manipulate layers and remove blemishes from images. We'll also be exploring some more advanced features such as masks, blending modes, and filters. Whether you are a beginner or an experienced Photoshop user, this workshop is designed to provide you with practical knowledge that you can apply immediately and get ready to learn some amazing skills and take your Photoshop skills to the next level. All right, let me just share my screen. Okay, let's look at the agenda that we have for this workshop. That is, first we'll cover what is Photoshop. We'll get to know about some details, what it exactly is, and then we'll get to know the Photoshop interface. That is, we'll get started with the Photoshop. Then we'll know about the workspace, tools, layers. Then we'll get to do some practical stuff, that is importing some assets. We'll composite an image and export the final image. And then I'll tell you about some more career options that you can do, that you can pursue when you are done with this, when you learn Photoshop. So first of all, I'll tell you what exactly Photoshop is. Photoshop is a photo editing and raster graphic image software which allows users to create, edit, and manipulate various graphics as well as digital art. Now you may ask, what is a raster graphic design software? Well, raster graphic design is something that images are used with pixels. Like the images are comprised of different pixels. Every pixel has different colors to it. And the combination of those pixels are what we see as an image. So we call that as a raster image. Then what Photoshop does is it allows you to create and edit raster images with multiple layers and import the images into various file formats. Photoshop is developed by Adobe systems for both Windows and macOS. We are going to cover the introduction to Photoshop and its features, which are commonly used by each and every designer to create some composites or any design, or to make any illustration, or even just doing some simple retouching to the photos which you have already clicked. Next we have is how to get started with Photoshop. So before getting started, I'll tell you when to create a new Photoshop document or when to open an existing image. So first, let me just open Photoshop. I'll show you directly how it is done. So when you open Photoshop, this is basically what you are going to see. You can see that there is this option called New File. We'll just click it. you'll get something like this. So when to create a new Photoshop document? When we create a new Photoshop document, we create what is essentially a blank canvas. Then once we have created the canvas or the document, we can import images, graphics, or other assets into it. New documents are perfect for design layouts, whether for print or for the web. You simply create a blank document at the size you need and then begin adding and arranging various elements. New documents are also great for digital painting with Photoshop's brushes and for creating composites from multiple images. Basically, anytime you want to start with a blank canvas and then add your content as you go, you'll want to create a new Photoshop document. Then, when to open an existing image in Photoshop. Say if you are a photographer and then instead of creating a new document, you'll most likely want to start by opening an existing document into Photoshop. Opening image is different from creating documents since the image itself determines the document size. So let's see how we can create a new document. Once we are at the Photoshop's home screen, by default, when you launch it, you'll see something like this. Say if we want to create an image of the width, say 1920 into 1080 pixels, that is basically what we have is full HD image, what generally nowadays our device resolution is. So I'll create that. Then we'll have to see the orientation. I have kept it as landscape. Now, if you want to create something for print, you want to keep the resolution as 300, sorry. But say if you want to create something for say web, you can keep the resolution as 72 pixels per inch. Then the color mode, I'll keep it as RGB, then 8-bit. For background contents, you have different options. Say you have white, then black, then there would be a background color, transparent or custom. But for this one, we'll just keep transparent as we don't want anything in the background as of now. We'll add something to it. And then you can just say, click create. Once you click create, it will take some time to load. And then you can see this is what we have. This is where we can add our images, our assets and everything so that we can start creating a new document. There is also another way where you can create a new file. For say, if you have something like this open, then you can just click file. From here, you can press new. You'll again get something like this where you have different options, say saved. For photo, if you have predefined resolution to click, then there is print, art and illustration, web, mobile, film and video. But as we have created a new document, it would be in recent, say custom. I'll just click create. Then again, another one with the name Untitled 2 will be open. Okay, next what we have is getting started with the Photoshop workshop. Now, what Photoshop workshop is, the workshop is a user interface of Photoshop. It is a combination of the preset layout for various elements. It will determine which of the tool panel will be displayed on your screen and how they will be arranged. In Photoshop, we can customize our workshop to choose what we want, what panels would be displayed, and how we can organize our Photoshop toolbar. The custom menus and keyboard shortcuts are also the part of workspaces. We can easily customize our Photoshop layout for specific tasks and match the way we would like to work. Photoshop provides us with several panels such as brushes, channels, layers, masks, etc. By default, it comes with several workspaces such as 3D, design, motion, painting, graphics, and photography. We can find workspaces by navigating to Window and Workspace menu. So I'll just show it to you practically. Say if we go to Window, we have Workspace. Here, the default one is Essential. Then we have 3D, Graphic and Web, Motion, Painting, Photography. There is another way you can switch your workshop. Say if you go here, you can see it is Essential right now. When we click graphics and web, you might see it will change its layout. Say here different panels started opening and the paragraph, glyphs and characters, these panels appeared over here, but I'll switch back to essential because that is much easier to work with. It is not good to show all the panels in your workspace because Photoshop contains too many panels. It would be better if we only place the panel that we need. Otherwise, we should close it. For example, while editing photos, you will need different panels for editing and retouching. And while performing graphic designing tasks, you will need different panels. So we will only talk about those panels which we need for our task. So it will help us pick the task at hand and keep our screen free of clutter. The default workspace in Photoshop is called the Essentials. As I told you, you can see we are right now at the Essential tab. If you have never customized your workspace, then you must be using the Essential workspace. Generally, the Essential workspace is considered more useful and handy because it is a general purpose workspace. The Essential workspace includes some of the most commonly used panels such as layer adjustment. Here we can see the layer adjustment. Then there is the tool panel here. Right now we can see I'm hovering my cursor over here. And then the color and swatches panel. So let's see what we have next. Next we have is tools. So what are tools? There are many tools in Photoshop to improve the visual look and feel of the image. We will learn about the most commonly used tools and for our daily requirements. So if we see over here, this is what we call our Photoshop tools layout. At the top, we can see we have Photoshop's move and selection tools. Then it is arranged into different segments. There are crop and slice tools, measurement tools. Then there is retouching and painting tools, drawing and type tools, navigation tool is at the bottom. So you can also, let me open Photoshop. So if we see this toolbar, you can see there are some extra arrow over here. If you right click this, you will see it has some more tools in it. See, rectangular marquee, then there are these tools. So we'll learn about these tools in detail. So first we have is move and selection tools. The first one in move and selection tool is the move tool. What is the move tool? It is the most commonly used, it is the most commonly used tool and it is used to move layers, selection and guides within a Photoshop document. We can enable the auto select to automatically select the layer or the group we want to click on. Let me show you how it works. I'll open an image from my file. Just give it a second. Okay, so here we have an image of one of my colleagues. We'll apply some tools on it. I'll show you how it works practically. So here we can see the background layer, it is locked. To make something in Photoshop, first of all, we have to unlock the layer so that we can start editing. So I'll unlock this layer. Now, if I select the move tool, you can see I can move the image as I want, wherever I want to. So this is what move tool is. I'll just. Then next we have is the artboard tool. What it does, the artboard tool allows you to easily design multiple web or UX or user experience layout for different devices or screen sizes. If I go to Photoshop, if I select the artboard tool, see, there is my another artboard. I can do multiple iterations of something that I'm creating over here. And then I can add another artboard and another one. Okay, here you can see they are stacked as a layer over here, but I'll just delete it for now. Next, we have is the rectangular marquee tool. What it does, it draws rectangular selection outlines and you can press and hold shift as you drag to draw a square selection. So if you see it practically, if I select the rectangular marquee tool, see here, if I drag over here, this area is selected. I can just drag this selection. And if I do something, if I apply some editing to it, if I do some if I use some different tools on it, the tools would be applied to the selected area only. Then what we have next is the elliptical marquee tool. What it does, it draws an elliptical selection outline. You can press and hold shift to draw the selection in a perfect circle. So if I deselect this and use this elliptical marquee tool, you can see if I hold shift, it draws a perfect, if I select this, you can see it draws a perfect, and if I move this, the selected area would be moved. Okay, I'll deselect it. Next, we have some less common used tool, which is single row marquee tool. The single row marquee tool in Photoshop selects a single row of pixels. Remember, pixels, single row of pixels in the image from left to right. Then we have is the single column marquee tool. It does exactly what the single row marquee tool does, but in a column, that is from a top to bottom. It selects single column of pixels from top to bottom. Next we have is the lasso tool. With the lasso tool, you can draw free-form selection outline around an object. If we see that over here in this image, I'll select the lasso tool. Now if I start, here you can see I am drawing a free-form selection, and when I close it, this area would be selected. So this is the use of lasso tool to make a selection on your picture. Next we have is the polygonal lasso tool. Now with the help of polygonal lasso tool, you can click around an object and surround it with a polygon straight edge selection outline. So if I deselect this, I'll select the polygonal lasso tool. See, it creates a straight line. If I close it, this area would be selected. Next we have is the magnetic lasso tool. The magnetic lasso tool snaps the selection outline to the edges of the object as you move your mouse cursor around it. Now, if we see that in practically, you can see I selected the magnetic lasso tool and it automatically snaps to the selection. If I move it slowly, it makes a perfect selection. You can see over here, but I'll just go a bit faster. Now, say, if I close it, this is the area that would be selected. Now, next we have is the object selection tool. Now, what it does, the object selection tool lets you select an object just by dragging a rough selection outline around it. So if you see over here, if I go to object selection, it will take some time to process. And now this object is selected. You can see there is a blue outline over here, which marks the area that is selected. Now, next we have is the quick selection tool. Now what it does, it simply lets you easily select an object by painting over it with a brush. Now you can enable auto enhance in the option bar for a better quality selection. Now if we see the quick selection tool, now if I drag it, you can see the area that I want to drag is quickly being selected. So if I want to select this subject, now the entire subject is selected. Okay, next we can see the magic wand tool. Now what it does, Photoshop's magic wand tool selects area of similar color with a single click. The tolerance value in the option bar lets you set the range of colors that would be selected. Now, if I deselect this and then I can go to magic wand tool, you can see the area. If I click to the face, it will select the area. Then I can go in the options and we can just select this option. So it will add to the selection. Okay, so right now this area is selected. You can fine tune the way you want it, but I'll let it be for now. I'll deselect this and let's see the next tools. Now, next we have the crop and slice tools. Now, what the crop tool does, as the name suggests, we can use the crop tool in Photoshop to crop an image and remove unwanted areas. We can uncheck the delete cropped pixels in the option bar to crop an image non-destructively. Now let's see how it works. If I select the crop tool, right now you can see there are some outlines over here. Now over here you can select the delete crop pixel, you can deselect it. Right now the image would be like cropped without destructing it. Say if I click on the right tick tool, now my image is cropped. This is what I want, then it would be cropped. I'll Control Z and let the image be for now so we can see what the other tool do. Next we have is the perspective crop tool. It is not as much used. I don't use it that much, but it is a tool, so we'll learn about it. We can use the perspective crop tool to both crop an image and fix common distortion or perspective problems. So if we see that how it works, now we can do some, say, we can distort the image however we want, and it would come out something like this. So you'll have to fine tune it according to the uses that you have, but I'll just Control Z and let the image be for now. Next we have is a slice tool. What the slice tool does, it divides an image or layout into smaller sections it slices which can be exported and optimized separately. Now if I select the slice tool, now here you can see different section of the images are there. It is divided into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now you can do different editing to these different sections and be select tool to select end with the slice tool. Now if I select this slice tool again, I'll do something like this. Then I'll do this slice select tool. Now I can select this or this. I can edit them however I want. Now I'll Control Z and let this be for now. We'll see the next tool, that is the frame tool. Now what it does, it is introduced in Photoshop CC 2019. The frame tool lets you place an image into rectangular or elliptical shapes. Say if we add the frame tool over here, we can add something to this area. Here you can see there is another layer created and you can add something to that layer. Next we have is the measurement tools. The eyedropper tool. Now Photoshop's eyedropper tool samples colors in an image. Increase the sample size in the option bar for a better representation of the sampled area color. Say if you want to select a color from this image so that you can apply it to some brushes or tool, you can select the eyedropper tool and then select this. Over here, you can see the selected area or the selected color is marked. See, you can see this hex code is EBA649. You can apply this hex code and do anything that you want. I'll select this. Now you can see the color change to F0AE9E. Now next we have is the 3D material eyedropper tool. Now you can use the 3D material eyedropper tool to sample materials from a 3D model in Photoshop. Right now I don't have a 3D model, so I can't show you how or the sample, the color information.
EdYoda, the end of your job search and the beginning of your dream career. EdYoda's live sessions are taught by industry experts, giving you hands-on
We
experience.
can use the count tool to manually count the number of objects in an image, or to have Photoshop automatically count multiple selected areas in an image. Next we have are the retouching and painting tools. So in this, we have the spot healing brush tool. What it does, the spot healing brush tool in Photoshop quickly removes blemishes and other minor problems in an problem areas in an image. Use a brush size slightly larger than the blemish for the best result. Now let's see that how it works. If we go to the healing brush tool over here, you can see I selected this. I'll zoom into the image. Let's say I want to remove this spot. Now I have a brush. If I click it, you can see that it is removed from here. You can see it work again. If I click over here, you can see the spot is removed. You can use it to remove blemishes, or you can say some defects that you have in the picture, and you can get it picture ready, or you can get it completely looking good. Next we have is the healing brush tool. The healing brush tool lets you repair larger problem areas in an image by painting over them. You can hold Alt or Option from Mac and click the sample good texture and paint over the problem area to repair it. Now let's see if I find a problem area over here. I'll go to the healing brush tool. I'll get a sample from here, and I can just like drag it to say heal the image. You can see it how it works. I'll just select the sample from here by holding the Alt key, click once, and then I can sample the area. You can see how it changes. Okay. Next we have is the patch tool. Now what it does with the patch tool, you can draw a free from selection outline around a problem area. then repair it by dragging the selection outline over an area of good texture. Now, how it works, let me select the patch tool. Say if I want to patch this area, I can select, say, and then I can patch it over here. So this is how it works. You have to make the selection and then patch. Next we have is the content aware move tool. Now you can use the content aware move tool to select and move part of an image to a different area. Photoshop automatically fills in the hole in the original port using elements from the surrounding area. Now if I say, if I want to, right now we don't have anything over here, but you can say, you can move this part to a different area and it will fill it. Photoshop automatically fills it. Okay, I'll discard this, Control D. Next, we have the red eye tool. What it does, it removes common red eye problems in a photo resulting from a camera flash. When you click a photograph, you might see some have some red eye. This image doesn't have, but I'll try showing it to you. See, over here, the eye becomes blacker and blacker when I drag it, but I'll just Control Z, Z, Z. I'll just let it be. Next, we have is the brush tool. Now, brush tool is Photoshop's primary painting tool. You can use it to paint brush strokes on a layer or on a layer mask. Now, if I select the brush tool, say brush tool over here, then say I want to paint something over here, I can say select this area sample and I can start painting it over. So you have to see the use cases, what you have, and then you have to use the brush tool according to your needs. So I'll Control Z, Control Z. I'll discard this and then go back, zoom out. Now, next we have is the pencil tool. The pencil tool is another of Photoshop's painting tool. But while the brush tool can paint soft edges, brush strokes, the pencil tool always paints with hard edges. Now, if we select the pencil tool, now if I want to say paint, you can see the strokes are very hard. If I increase the brush size, you'll see this. See how the strokes are really hard and you can see it. Now I'll Control Z. We'll see the next tool, that is the color replacement tool. We can use the color replacement tool in Photoshop to easily replace the color of an object with a different color. Say if we want to replace the color of this yellow, we can just sample say black over here and it will replace the color. You can see this. So it replaces the color. You have to select it and then you can get it working. Next we have is the mixer brush tool. Like unlike the standard brush tool, the mixer brush in Photoshop can stimulate elements of real painting such as mixing and combining colors and painting wetness. You can use it to create some paintings and stuff. Over here, we have this mixer brush tool. I'll select something. Now, if I paint over here, see, it is very lighter than the brush tool. And you can see if I do it over and over again, it gets darker as I'm doing it. Okay. Now, we see the next tool. That is the clone stamp tool. Now what it does, the clone stamp tool is most basic of Photoshop's retouching tool. It samples pixels from one area of the image and paints them over pixels in another area. Now how it works, if I select the clone stamp, say if I want to clone an area from here, I'll increase the brush size so that you can see. I'll select this. Now you can see it clones the area. See, if we want to say increase the area, it clones over it. Okay, you have to use it according to your use case, but I'm just showing you how the tool works. Next we have is the pattern stamp tool. Now we can use the pattern stamp tool to paint and pattern over the image. Now if I select the pattern stamp tool, I'll have to define a pattern, but I guess I have one. See, I have a pattern selected. I can just stamp it over the image. You can see this is a pattern. I'll stamp it over the image. Now I'll Control Z, Control Z. What we have next is the history brush tool. Now the history brush tool paints a snapshot from an earlier step or the history state into the current version of the image. Choose the previous state from the history panel. Over here in Photoshop, we have the history panel. Now if I select something from here, it will directly take me to that. So you can see this is the history brush, and I can do that exactly how I want it. See, you can see the history brush is being applied. I'll Control D, deselect this area, and you can see that it is being applied over here. Now, next we have is the art history brush tool. Now, what it does, the art history brush also paints a snapshot from an earlier history state into the image, but it does so using stylized brush strokes. Now we have the eraser tool. In Photoshop, the eraser tool permanently erases a pixel on a layer. It can also be used to paint in a previous history state. Now, if we see that in working, say I want to erase this part of the image, I can select the eraser tool from here, and you can see this is being erased. I'll increase the brush size so you can see how it works. Now I'll Control Z and let it be so that we can see the other tools. Next we have is the background eraser tool. Now what it does, it erases area over a similar color in an image by painting over them. Now let's see how it works. If we select the background, right now we don't have another image in the background, so it's not working as it's supposed to be, but it just erases the background from the image. Now, next we have is the magic eraser tool. The magic eraser tool is similar to the magic wand tool in that it selects similar areas of the similar color with a single click, but the magic eraser tools then permanently delete those areas. Now, if we see how it works, we can select the magic eraser tool, and if I click it, it just images the entire color range. You can see it erased some of these, so you will have to use it accordingly so that other areas of your images are not affected. Next we have is the gradient tool. Now, Photoshop's gradient tool draws gradual blends between multiple colors. The gradient tool lets you create and customize your own gradient. Now, if we see the gradient tool, if I do this, it would add a gradient. You can see it is a lighter gradient, but then if I say select a darker color and then do it again, you can see it applies a darker gradient from black to white. You can select the colors from here. Say if you want blue, then you want the other color to be, say, red. Then again, if you click the gradient tool, it will give you a gradient from blue to red. Control Z. Now, next we have is the paint bucket tool. Now, what it does, the paint bucket tool fills an area of similar color with your foreground color or a pattern. The tolerance value determines the range of the colors that will be affected around the areas where you clicked. Now, if we see how it works, if I select the paint bucket tool, now I have my foreground color selected as somewhat of a purple. Now if I select it, you can see it replaced the entire white to the purple or my foreground color. Next we have is the 3D material drop tool. Now used in 3D modeling, the 3D material drop tool lets you sample a material from one area and then drop it into another area of your model, mesh, or 3D layer. Sorry, I don't have a 3D model, so I can't show you how it works, but you get the point. Next, we have is the blur tool. Now, what it does, the blur tool blurs and softens areas you paint over with the tool. Now, if we see how it works, say I want to blur this. So I'll select the blur tool. You can see the blur tool. I'll increase the brush size. And if I click it, you can see the blur is being applied. Okay, can you see it? All right, I'll Control Z, so that it's not destroying my image. Next, we have is the Sharpen tool. Now, what it does exactly the opposite of blur. It sharpens the area over which you paint. Now, if I select the Sharpen tool, you can see it is trying to sharpen the area. Okay, can you see it? Just don't try to overdo it, because you can see there are artifacts that have started being appearing in the image. So I'll just let it be. Control Z, Control Z. Now, next we have is the Smudge tool. Now, what the Smudge tool does in Photoshop, it smudges and smears the area you paint over. It can also be used to create a finger painting effect. Now, let's see what the Smudge tool does. Sorry. Now, it will try to see, it will try to smudge it, the area. So you can just use it to say blend the areas or do something like this. Okay, we'll just Control Z. Okay. Next we have is the dodge tool. Now what it does, the dodge tool, you can use it to paint over the area to lighten them. Now see if I use this tool over this dark area, I can see, you can see that this area is getting light in color. You can dodge, say if you have some darker areas in your image, you can use this to lighten that part. Next, we have is the burn tool. Now, what it does exactly the opposite of dodge. That is, it can darken the area over which you paint. Now, if I select the burn tool, see, you can see how it works. It is darkening the area over which you are painting. Okay. Control Z. All right. Next, we have is the sponge tool. Now, what it does, the sponge tool is used to increase or decrease the color saturation. Now, if I select the sponge tool, we can see it is decreasing the color saturation. So this is what the sponge tool does. It increases or decreases the color saturation of the area over which you are painting. Next, we have are the drawing and type tools. But first, let me just have some water. Okay. Now, the first drawing tool that we have is the pen tool. Now, the pen tool allows you to draw extremely precise paths and vector shapes or selection. You can see if you want to make very accurate selection, you can select the pen tool, and then you can say, you can make curves, and you can make the selection over here. Say if we want it to be a bit curvier, we can add over here. Oh, I did a mistake. Sorry. We can add another point over here. We can make the selection of the curvature as we want. I'm doing it hastily, but you get the point. Right now it is a closed. I can just right click to make a selection. And if I click OK, this area is being selected. Now, if I do something in this area, it would apply to this selection only. Now, next we have is the freeform pen tool. Now, what it does, it allows you to draw freehand paths or shapes. Anchor points are automatically added to the path as you draw. Now, let's see that in action. If I do this, see, it added anchor points as I drew over the area. Now I can right click and make a selection to select this area. Next we have is the curvature pen tool. Now it is an easier simplified version of the pen tool, and it was introduced in Photoshop CC 2018. Let's see how it works. Now I can directly snap, like it's automatically giving me, it is a simplified version of the pen tool. Now I can click it over here. It is making a selection to the curves as we are seeing over here. Now if I select this, make a selection, you can see this area is being selected. Next we have is the add anchor point tool. Now we can use it to add anchor point to the path that we have created. You saw how that works, but I'll show it to you again. If I made it, I'll go to this add anchor point tool. Now if I can add another anchor point, and I can make this selection a bit more perfect, as we say over here, you can see. So if I make a selection right now, click OK, you can see it selected a bit more closer to the finger that we have seen. Next we have is the delete anchor point tool. Now it does exactly the opposite. Instead of adding an anchor point, you can use it to remove the anchor point. Now next is the convert point tool. Now on a path, you can click on a smooth anchor point with the convert point tool to convert it to a corner point. And then you can click the corner point to convert it into a smooth point. Now if we see over here, so these are the smooth points and these are the corner points. Now if I select this convert point tool, if I click over here, you can see it converted it into a smooth point. And now if I select this, it converted it into, sorry, where did it go? It converted it into a corner point. Now let's just see. If I make a selection, if I click OK, right here, you can see how it works. Now, next we have is the horizontal type tool, simply known as the type tool in Photoshop. You can use the horizontal type tool to add standard type to your document. Now let's deselect this. I'll just zoom out. Say if I want to add some text over here, I can use that horizontal type tool, drag a selection, and I can say make it a bit larger. Let's say 100 points. Now I can type anything. Hi, how are you? Question mark. This is Photoshop workshop. Now I can select different fonts from over here. Let's say I want to select Bebas bold. Then I can say make it to 300. Right? Hi, how are you? Then you can also like drag it out so that you can see the entire text. Then you can change the color to black, let's say. Now you can use it to create titles in your photos, or you can add any text you want. So I'll just click it. Now you can see, hi, how are you? This is Photoshop mode. Next, we have is a vertical type tool. Now what it does, it adds type vertically from top to bottom. Now, if we see this over here, vertical type tool, I'll just increase the area. Now it will be, hi, how are you? It will add the text vertically. See? Next, we have is a vertical type mask tool. Now, rather than adding editable text to your document, the vertical type mask tool creates a selection outline in the shape of a vertical type. Next, we have is the horizontal type tool. Now, like the vertical type mask tool, the horizontal type mask tool creates a selection outline in the shape of a type. But the type is added horizontally rather than vertically. Now, let's see. Now it will create something like this. How are, sorry, hi, all. Now if I click OK, you can see the area that is added over here. I can use different brushes and everything to. Now you can see that it added a selection in the shape of the letters that have been used. I'll deselect this. Now, next is the path selection tool. Now, we can use the path selection tool in Photoshop to select and move entire path at once. Now, over here, see, there is something wrong. Okay, there is something going on. We'll see the next tool. Next is the direct selection tool. Now we can use the direct selection tool, the white arrow, to select and move an individual path segment, anchor point, or a direction handle. Now let's use the pen tool once. Now we can select this and we can change the anchor points to exactly where we want them to. Over here, now we can make a selection. You can see that this area is selected. I'll Control Z. Let's see the next tools. Now the next tool is the rectangle tool that allows you to draw rectangular vector shapes, paths, or pixel shapes with sharp or rounded corners. You can press and hold shift as you drag to force the shape into a perfect square. It basically allows you to draw a rectangle. Sorry. Now you can hold shift over here. Then you can use different fill. Sorry. Now you can use different fill colors to fill the rectangle of where. Now you can basically use it to make shapes and add shapes to your image. Next we have is the Ellipse tool. Now what it does, it allows you to draw elliptical vector shapes, paths, or pixel shapes. Press and hold the shift as you drag to draw a perfect circle. As we see, we can select this tool to draw an ellipse over the image. It will be filled by your foreground color. Now you can select this Let me add another one, ellipse tool. Now, if I press and hold shift, it will add another shape, but it would be a perfect circle. Okay. Next we have is the triangle tool. The triangle tool draws triangle shapes. You can hold to shift to draw an equilateral triangle or use the radius option to round the corners. Now, if I use the triangle tool over here, how it is used, you can see it creates a triangle. And if I hold shift, it will create an equilateral triangle. See, sorry, where did it go? You can see that it creates an equilateral triangle. I'll just undo these. Next we have is the polygon tool. Now the polygon tool draws polygonal shapes with any number of sides. You can use the star ratio option to turn polygons into the star. Now if we see over here, the polygon tool, over here you can see the number of sides you want. If I select 5, it will create a polygon with the 5 sides. Now if I select it to say 8, it would create a polygon with 8 sides, and if I say 10, it would create a decagon. Okay. You can use this to create anything that you want, any polygonal shape that you want. Next is the line tool. The line tool draws straight lines or arrows. You can use the stroke color and weight to control the appearance of the line. Now what it does, it will create a straight line. You can hold shift to create a straight line. You can then say how much stroke you want. Say you want a stroke of 10. Now you can see it creates, say 100. It would add a stroke of 100 to the line that you created. Next we have is the custom shape tool. Now Photoshop's custom shape tool lets you select and draw custom shapes. Choose from Photoshop's hundreds of built-in custom shapes or create your own. I'll just move to the next tool. Now we have finally the set of navigation tools. Now the first tool in navigation tool is the hand tool. The hand tool lets us click and drag an image around on the screen to view. We zoom in. You have seen using this throughout this workshop. Now say if I zoomed in, if I press space, you can see the hand tool appears. Now I can drag it over here, or you can directly select this tool and you can drag this to select different areas, to view different areas of the image as you are working on it, and you can have a better clarity of what you are doing. Next we have is the rotate view tool. The rotate view tool in Photoshop, you can rotate the canvas so that you can view and edit different image from different angles. Over here, we can see the rotate view. We can see this image from different angles that we want. Okay, let's just let it be. Next, we have is a zoom tool. Now you can click on the image with the zoom tool to zoom in on a specific area, and you can press and hold Alt or Option in Mac to click out with the zoom tool to zoom out from the image. Now let's see how it works. Right now I have zoom. If I click and drag, you can see it zooming out the image. Now if I hold Alt, you can see it change it to a minus sign. Now it would zoom out from the area. Okay. Next we have is the Photoshop layers. Now, what are layers? Layers in Photoshop allow you to work non-destructively by stacking images on top of each other without interacting and mixing the pixel of the images. Layer is the only thing in Photoshop that makes an amazing photo editing and compositing tool. Layers can be used to stack multiple images and add text to an image, vector graphics, and you can add or delete layer anytime that you want. Now, if we switch to Photoshop, you can see here are the different layers that have. We can see there is a text layer. If we hide it, you can see it goes away, and then we can again hide this to go away. So you can see that the photo that the editing that adding the text that I did, it hasn't destructed the previous image or the original image that we had. It just added layers onto it so that we can make changes to anytime that we want. Now, when you create an image or open an image in Photoshop, it's visible in the layer panel. Then you can unlock the layer and then you can create new layers. Say over here, you can create a new layer over here. You can add brush strokes to it. Sorry. If I select the brush tool and then over here, you can see right now, if I hide this layer, the original image remains unaffected. Now let's see importing assets. So I told you in the beginning of the workshop, we'll be creating something or we'll be creating a banner. So let's just get started with that. We have two untitled documents opened over here. So we'll create a banner for this workshop. First, we'll start by adding different assets into it. We can import different assets. So first of all, what I'll do is I'll add a solid color to give a background to the image. You can see solid color. Say I want a color, something yellow. Let me say, I'll just change it to FFEF00. Right now you can see it is somewhat of a yellow color. Okay. Now let's say I'm very much into gaming, so I'll make a gaming poster. So I have some assets. I'll just try adding them to it. We'll just drag it over here. You can see I want this. So what I'll do is I'll just drag it over here. Now I have my main character over here. Say I want something like this. Okay, done. If I click OK, right now my main character is added to it, to this image or to this banner that we are creating, but the background looks completely blank. We'll just add something over here like this. I'll just bring it down so that it gives somewhat of a definition of a city over here. I'll select Control T to say zoom it out and then click OK. I just drag it down a bit. Next, I can add the title. I have the title already saved in my system. So right now you can see it's being completely merged over here. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll just let it be. I can go to this area and then I can select blending options. Now, over here, what I'll do is I'll try to give it a outer glow. I'll set normal. I'll select the color to be somewhat of a white color. And I will drag the opacity over here, but it's not looking good. So what we'll do is we'll So what we'll do is we'll try to change the rotation to 180. Oh, sorry, this flip the entire image. We'll try to flip it horizontally. Sorry. Okay, I'll control T. I'll just drag it out. I can select this entire thing. Okay, right now we can see. Okay, we have something like this over here. Now we'll add CTA to it, say register now or something. I'll just copy it over here. Then we'll add some logos so that it looks like the area does not look so blank. I'll just add some, say, CT project red as a developer. So what I'll do is, you can see this is an image with the background. I'll just let it be for now. I have this layer selected. I'll go to select color range. I can select this color range. I'll click OK. You can see this area is selected. I'll just delete this. Okay. This is part object. I'll have to rasterize this layer. Now, if you see, I deleted the white area from this. I'll control D. Right now, we have over here. Oh, there are some more places, but we'll use the crow. Sorry, we'll select this layer again. Go to select color range. We'll try to select this area from here. We'll click OK. Now you can see the selection is over here, and we can Control Z. Or you know what? It is getting a bit complicated. I'll open this in a new thing. What I'll do, I'll select color range, select this white area. Okay. I'll delete the white area. Sorry. I'll first unlock this layer, delete the white layer, Control D. Now with my move tool, I'll select this and I'll drag it over here. Control T to transform it, make it a bit smaller, and then I'll add it over here. Okay, now enter. You can click it over here to add it over here. Now I'll add some more logos to this image that we are creating, or this banner we are creating. Say we have a PS5 thing. I'll just select. I'll show you another thing. You can select the subject. It will take some time over here. Right now you can see it made a rough selection, but it is not going to cut it. But what we'll do, we'll select the color range. This time I'll select the black area. Okay. Now directly with the move tool, Control Z, sorry. Now I can use the selection tool over here to, sorry, Control Z. Select the inverse. I'll delete this. Now Control D. I'll drag it out and I'll add it to over here. Control T. I can hold the Alt to do something like this. It's looking a bit smaller, but I'll add it. Enter. Now say we want to give a date or something, the launch date or something. I can just select the type tool. I'll click over here. So I'll just add a date, say what's today date is 9th May, 9th May, enter 2023, 023. Now let's say I have somewhat of a cyberpunk font installed in my system. I'll just write it, say cyberpunk regular. So it goes with the, right. I can select this. 300 point is way too much. I'll say 100 point, click OK. Okay. Now cyberpunk font is not working. There is another skirmish regular. You can see I'll select this semi-italic regular. Now I can do is 9th May 2023. We can increase it to 750. I'll click OK. You can see it is creating something like this. You can select whatever font you want. Okay, the type tools, can just double click, say you wanted to change it to say regular over here. If I click OK, now you can see it is doing something like this. All right. So this is basically what poster that we have. We can add different elements, say more elements to it. Okay, if I just rotate this, something like this, so it gives you a sense of background to it, something different. Select OK. Now we can drag it down to this layer, so it goes behind that layer. And again Control T, zoom it up in a bit so that it completely fills up. Now we added something. So this is basically what we'll do. You can add more elements, you can do different stuff, you can add more text to it if you want. See, if I wanted over here, something like this. Now we see how we composited an image. Next, how we can export the final image. Now, if we select file over here, after we are done with everything, if we select file, you can see over here export. There would be different options, but we'll select export as to see the different options that we can export it as that. Now over here, from here, you can choose PNG so that you can add transparency. If you have a transparent file or you don't have a background, you want to select this. But as I have a background, I'll select it as JPG. I'll select this to high. You can select the, define the width and the height. You can scale. Now, next, you can just export. I'll just save it to desktop as my banner. Sorry. Okay. Now save. So if I go to my desktop from here, over here, if you see, this is my desktop. I have this image called banner. Now, if we see what we made, it looks something like this. Now you can add different elements. You can add something else to make it more attractive and edit it however you want. So let's just. Now that was it for the Photoshop workshop. Now I'll tell you some more things about the career options. Now, those who are wishing to use Adobe Photoshop, they have many career options. Different jobs may include touching a photo professional to making your favorite bands, tour flyers. The use of Photoshop will be required for all designs and print-related career fields. Now, if you are interested in using your favorite graphics program in your new career, there are few hot jobs that require Photoshop skills. The first one is photographer. Now, photographers don't just take stunning pictures, they create them using the help of Photoshop. As a photographer, you will be trying to create the perfect picture. Now, this includes getting rid of blemishes or subject, or adding additional light sources, sharpening the focus, and adding additional creative elements to your photos. All of these things and more can be done using Photoshop. Next, we have as a web designer. Now, as a web designer, it is your goal to bring your clients' ideas to life on the web page. You will be creating logos, navigational bars, backgrounds, headers, and additional images to help create the page. Now, Photoshop has an extensive library of modifiers that you can use on your image to help your web page that you are creating stand out and look professional and easier to navigate. Next, we have as the graphic designer. Now, graphic designers are people behind that great band flyer you just see in the subway station or somewhere. You see 4 different billboards as you are traveling. Those are created by graphic designer. Now, it is a graphic designer's job to create flyers, logos, brochures, and page elements that are creative as well as eye-catching. Designers work with vast arrays of media, including pictures, videos, text, style, and adjustment layers. A graphics designer work can appear online or offline and is used in variety of publications. Next is an advertiser. Now, as an advertiser, it is your duty to make your brand appealing and memorable to your customers. Advertisers can use Photoshop to create logos and branding icons, product packaging and company advertisements, and more. Now, advertisers may use Photoshop in their daily work by creating these elements as well as editing company photos for display on the company website. And sometimes the work of the advertiser and the graphic designer are combined, resulting in one key worker doing the job for both the titles. Now, let's go ahead, see some questions that you guys might have. Okay, guys, any questions? All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's session. To see more detailed courses, you can visit www.edyoda.com, where you can learn 150 plus job relevant courses and watch 20,000 plus hours of video content at just ₹99 per month. Curious? You can quickly check out the link in the description, or you can visit www.edyoda.com and begin your learning journey. Like the video, you can share it with your friends and subscribe to the channel. Now, one final question to all of you guys. Which topic would you want us to do our next workshop on? Let me know in the comment section. Now, this is me, Shubham Raut, signing off. Hope you enjoyed this session. I'll see you in the next one.